In a role-playing game, the character named Ako asks Rusian to marry her. Unfortunately, Rusian flatly refuses. Ako then asks why Rusian turned her down. Rusian explains that he has decided never to fall in love again. Ako understands but continues to insist on marrying him. Rusian wonders if Ako is even listening to what he just said. Ako assures him that she is listening. That's why she is being so bold. She believes that if Rusian marries her, it will be more enjoyable. Rusian is puzzled by Ako's confidence but still declines. At that moment, the Alley Cat Guild is in action defeating mobs. Their members include Rusian, Schween, Ako, and the guild master Apricot. Rusian prepares to attack with his sword. Fortunately, the shield he carries deflects 2 arrows shot by enemies. Rusian signals Schwein to attack. Schwein leaps and slashes his sword at the 2 archers, making them disappear instantly. Meanwhile, Rusian faces one mob but is soon overwhelmed and knocked back. Seeing this, Ako quickly heals him excessively, causing 3 enemies to surround her. Terrified, Ako is about to be attacked when Rusian suddenly strikes the mobs, telling Ako to retreat while healing him. Unexpectedly, the number of mobs in front of Rusian increases. He calls out to Apricot for help. Apricot channels power through her staff, unleashing a massive fireball toward the mobs attacking Rusian. The fireball incinerates all the mobs instantly. Ako praises Apricot for turning all the mobs into ashes. Schwein wonders how many enhancement items Apricot used on her staff to annihilate all the mobs. Apricot replies that she only used magic-boosting items, and if you buy 10, you get 1 free. Unfortunately, because Apricot arrived late, Rusian became a casualty. Ako quickly revives Rusian with her healing power. As Rusian regains consciousness, Ako hugs him and apologizes. Rusian says it's okay, especially since their mission is complete. Ako thanks him and expresses her love for him. That night, the players log off the game. The next morning at school, Hideki, who plays the character Rusian, announces to his friends that he has a wife. So remarks that Hideki changes wives every 3 months. Ryu asks if Hideki means a waifu. Takumi inquires if there are any anime recommendations for that season. Hideki suggests the historical anime Dogra Magra. So calls Hideki a true maniac, and Takumi even dubs him an open otaku. Hideki doesn't mind as he still enjoys it. Suddenly, Akane calls Otakus disgusting. Nanako tries to calm Akane down. Hideki explains that there are various kinds of otakus like liquor otakus, flower otakus, and others around the world. Akane insists that regardless, Hideki is still disgusting. Hideki's friends agree with her. Hideki can't believe how harsh his 3 friends are. Shortly after, their teacher, Yui, announces that there will be a morning assembly and asks all students to head to the gym. All the students hurry to the gym. While in the hallway, So tells his friends that Maeda from class 3 confessed to a female student and was flatly rejected. So suggests that Hideki might be a good match for a short, twin-tailed girl like Akane. Hideki says that if Akane were a tsundere, someone who is initially cold but gradually shows affection, he might be interested. But in reality, Akane is just stone cold. Akane turns and threatens to seriously hurt Hideki later. Hideki is startled and stops in his tracks, accidentally bumping into a girl from another class, Ako. Hideki quickly apologizes and a shy Ako runs away. During the assembly in the gym, Hideki steals glances at Ako, who turns away whenever she notices him looking. That morning, the student council president, Kyo, welcomes the students at the opening ceremony. After school, Hideki quickly returned to playing his online game. The game Hideki and others played was an online RPG called Legendary Age, or LEI for short. While some features required payment, it was free to play, attracting many players who could explore the same world simultaneously. At that moment, Hideki was controlling his in-game character, Rusian, battling mobs. He alerted his guildmates to prepare for an attack. However, his 3 friends were engrossed in conversation, leaving Rusian to fend off the mobs alone. Ako shared with Schwein and Apricot that Rusian had given her a ring, claiming it would boost her resistance. Meanwhile, Rusian was defeated by the mobs due to his friends' inattentiveness. Later, Rusian and his friends gathered at a cafe. Ako asked how Rusian was doing. He replied that he wasn't okay, and that most of it was Ako's fault. She couldn't attack properly, heal the mobs instead, and was too busy chatting. Rusian mentioned that he died multiple times because of Ako's mistakes. Ako apologized, noting that fortunately, Rusian's level was high enough to mitigate the impact. She then clung to Rusian's arm. Schwein pointed out that tanking was the armor mate's job, so even if Rusian died, it wouldn't affect him. Rusian retorted that if their attacker were more competent, there wouldn't be any issues. Apricot mentioned she could eliminate everything as long as she had expensive cash items to enhance her magic. Schwein and Rusien jokingly called her a pay-to-win player. A year had passed since Rusien and Schwein, Apricot, and Aiko formed the Alley Cat Guild. They'd experienced many adventures together, growing close and enjoying each other's company. Aiko was Rusien's in-game wife. Although their marriage was just within the game, Rusien couldn't refuse her persistent proposals. In reality, Hideki struggled to interact with girls, yet in the game he had a wife. Aiko began talking to herself, and Apricot commented that Aiko and Rusien seemed inseparable that day. Rusien explained it was because Aiko wouldn't let go of him. Schwein teased them, calling them a new couple. Rusien emphasized that it was just a game, not real life. Schwein mused that perhaps Rusien couldn't get married in real life, so he sought solace in the game. Rusien was offended by Schwein's remark. Aiko interjected, suggesting that Schwein should just die, stating that normies should perish, and that associating with them brought bad luck. She believed such people were a blight on the world. Schwein clarified that he wasn't implying that and wasn't interested in romance. Rusien gently reminded Aiko not to project her disdain for normies onto their friends. Suddenly, Aiko lamented that Rusien had rejected her feelings repeatedly, causing her stress and shortening her lifespan. She mentioned proposing 10 times and being rejected each time, wondering why Rusien was so unwilling to marry her. Rusien suggested they revisit the beginning of their conversation. Aiko apologized and pleaded with Rusien not to divorce her. Schwein wondered why Rusien didn't just accept Aiko's proposal. Rusien explained that in-game marriage wasn't something he favored, especially since it was just a game, not reality. Schwein teased that perhaps Rusien couldn't marry in real life, so he sought refuge in the game. Rusien was irked by Schwein's comment. Aiko then revealed that Rusien had previously proposed to someone in Legendary Age. Rusien was surprised Aiko divulged that information. Apricot urged him to share more. Rusien recounted that he once confessed his love to a female character in-game, only to be flatly rejected. To his shock, the girl revealed she was actually an older man in real life, just curious about playing an online game. Since then, Rusien had been wary of online relationships. Hideki had learned his lesson. He would never trust that a girl in an online game was actually a girl again. Hearing his story, Schwein and Apricot burst into laughter. Apricot even joked that Rusien's past was dark, but still a memorable part of his teenage years. Rusien couldn't help but regret it. After all, the girl he confessed to was really cute, had great taste in gear, and was practically a role model for female characters. That experience left him so traumatized that he quit his previous guild and played solo for almost a year. Eventually, he came to a conclusion. As long as a character looked cute, he would accept it, even if the player behind it was actually a guy in real life. What mattered was that the cuteness made his gaming experience enjoyable. Aiko then asked if Rusien was mad at her for revealing his past. Rusien said it was fine. It was just something that happened online. Aiko then told him she truly loved him. Hideki was taken aback but quickly calmed himself to avoid getting too caught up in his feelings. Apricot suddenly realized why Rusien had been rejecting Aiko all this time. But Rusien insisted that it had nothing to do with real life. Aiko was Aiko in the game. Aiko then blurted out that she was actually a bookworm girl in real life. Schwein was confused as to why Aiko would admit something like that in a public chat. Even Rusien agreed it was a bit too much. Then, out of nowhere, Apricot declared that she was a high school girl. Hearing that, Rusien refused to believe it, especially since Apricot used high-end cash items. Schwein and Aiko also didn't buy it. To prove it, Apricot suggested they meet up offline for the first ever in-person gathering of the Alley Cat Guild. That day, the members of the Alley Cat Guild gathered near the train station. Hideki messaged the others, letting them know he was standing by a large tree in front of the station. Not long after, a girl approached him and called out Rusien. Shocked, Hideki hesitantly admitted that he was indeed Rusien. The girl introduced herself as Aiko. Seeing the real Aiko for the first time, Hideki was completely stunned. Meanwhile, Aiko, realizing that the guy in front of her was really Rusien, got so excited that she immediately clung to him. Hideki quickly told Aiko to stop calling him Rusien in public. Suddenly, Akane appeared and asked if Hideki was Rusien. Hideki was shocked. Akane was also a guild member. Aiko asked if the two of them knew each other, but before they could answer, Kyo showed up and greeted them. Akane immediately called Kyo student council president, but Kyo corrected her, saying that at that moment, she wasn't the student council president, she was the guild master of Alley Cat Apricot. Kyo instantly recognized Rusien and Aiko, who was still clinging to him. That meant Akane was actually Schwein. Akane quickly protested, telling them not to call her Schwein in real life. The group then headed to a cafe for their first offline guild meeting. Ako was overjoyed to meet Rusian in real life, so much so that she kept touching his face. Kyo took charge of the introductions. She revealed that she was a second-year student at Megasaki High School and the student council president there. Even though they had all been close online, this was their first time meeting in person. Through good times and bad, they had always enjoyed playing together. Next, Akane introduced herself as a first year at Megasaki High. Kyo understood why Akane was embarrassed to say her in-game name out loud. After all, Schwein was German for pig. No girl would want to introduce herself as pig. It turned out that Akane had chosen the name Schwein without knowing its meaning. She just thought it sounded cool. She then blamed Kyo for not telling her sooner. Kyo had always assumed it was just a joke. In the end, Akane begrudgingly accepted the name Schwein but warned everyone, if anyone called her pig, she would chop them into pieces. Hideki had introduced himself as Rusian, and it turned out that saying his character name out loud was pretty embarrassing. He introduced himself as a first-year student at the same high school as Kyo. He also admitted that he didn't participate in any extracurricular activities, had no particular talents, and that his only hobby was playing online games. Next, Ako introduced herself, saying that she was also a first-year student at the same high school as everyone else. To everyone's surprise, her in-game character name was the same as her real name. Akane and Hideki were both shocked that someone would actually use their real name for a game character. Ako admitted that she didn't join any extracurricular activities and didn't have any friends at school. In fact, she even mentioned that sometimes when she went to school, she became the center of attention. Everyone was surprised to hear that. Hideki reassured her, saying that all of them were her friends. Ako was grateful and said she was really happy to have friends she could talk to. Hideki then brought up that Akane was actually quite popular since she was confessed to by a third-year student the other day. Ako immediately called Akane a pleb and Kyo agreed. Akane admitted that she rejected the confession because she had no interest in dating anyone. Hideki then asked if Maeda, the guy who was popular among the girls, wasn't her type. Akane reasoned that if she had a boyfriend, she would have less time to play online games. Akane then turned the question around and asked Hideki if he would reject someone if they confessed to him. Kyo and Ako immediately responded that of course he would. Hideki said that they were all way too honest. Ako then shared her idea on how to solve this issue. She suggested that Akane could just get married in the game just like Ako and Rusian did, so she wouldn't lose any gaming time and could still be with the person she loved. Akane found the idea disgusting. Meanwhile, Hideki still couldn't fully grasp the fact that the cute girl standing in front of him was actually his in-game wife.